The first hour of your day is the most important hour of your day. It sets the tone for what the rest of the day is going to look like. And recently, I've started to think about this as like your incubation period before bursting out into the world. I used to think that you need to get up, get in the ice bath, like go out for a run, go to the gym and do all these crazy things in the morning. And that's totally fine to do, right? Totally fine. I find when I do all of that in the morning, I tend to have a crash later in the day. So what I've decided instead for my morning is to view it more like winter time. You know, there's some seeds under the soil and they're working hard under there, but we're not quite ready, yet to burst out. So this is the time to restore energy levels, to start to boost creativity in the morning, and to do different things that are going to help you to have more clarity so that when you come to the later point of your day, you are ready to work. Today's video is sharing 8 or maybe more things that I do in the morning that help me to be productive throughout the day. Most of these habits take less than 5 minutes to do, or about 5 minutes, or maybe slightly more. There's only one that takes a longer time, but you can do it in a 5-minute way if you need to. So these are the practices that I use. If you have any that you would like to add, I would love to hear those in the comments below. Also, my name is Ciara, I'm 29 and I live in Dublin, Ireland, and I run a company. I'm starting an acting program in September and I do YouTube, so subscribe. The first thing that I will do in the morning that takes literally no time at all is I will put this thing away from me. Get it away from me. Very rarely will I end up scrolling in the morning or going on my phone like that. But what would happen potentially is I might see a message that's going to then have me thinking about something and ruminating on something for quite some time, especially when I used to have Teams notifications on in the morning. I might get a message from an employee and that would be very stressful in the morning. And then again, I wouldn't be able to do any of these other things that set me up nicely for the day. The other thing that tends to happen is, especially when I get to my morning journaling, I will always want to look stuff up. Like I'll have an idea and I'll go, oh, I better look this up, or I better check if that's available. And then lo and behold, I've lost time to my phone and I've interrupted the flow of ideas that's coming. So now I will leave it in a separate room and I'll go downstairs and do my morning routine. The second thing that takes very little time as well is I will drink a pint of water, literally from a pint glass, because we don't really have any other kind of water glasses that we really drink from. And I will often add some vitamins into the water. I kind of taking like a multivitamin. I think it's more of an immunity multivitamin, but ask your medical practitioners if there's anything that you should be taking. I just find that hydration really helps me to be productive throughout the day because I do forget to drink water. So having a good bit in the morning, I'll usually end up drinking 2 pints in the morning. It means that if I forget to drink water for most of the rest of the day until dinner time, I should be okay. Whereas if I don't drink that water in the morning, I will probably end up dehydrated, I'll end up with a headache, I'll end up annoyed, and I won't be able to do my work effectively. So it really helps from that perspective. The vitamins, I think they're immunity based, so I think they kind of help me to stay well and not get sick, which is also, something we don't want if we're trying to be productive. The third thing I will do, which is the one probably that I think is the most unusual, and I've literally never seen another creator talk about this, is I will drink a cup of cacao, and it's ceremonial grade cacao. And I have it with coconut milk, a little bit of maple syrup, and maybe some sort of spice. So mixed spice is my spice of choice at the moment. I found this like 2 years ago now, and I find it to be a great way of unlocking my creativity. I find it also neutralizes something in my brain that helps me to focus and get quite clear in my thinking. Again, this is something you should definitely talk to a doctor about before bringing it into a regular practice, because it does have contraindications if you're on any kind of like head or heart medication, or if you're pregnant or anything like that. So always talk to a doctor first. But I've been taking this regularly for probably a little over a year now, and I find that it really does help me focus. It also helps me to be creative, and I find that when I do this in combination with my morning journaling, the ideas be flowing. It's also for me a really great mood booster, and I would have, lower dopamine, and this definitely helps to bring up my happiness hormones, which really helps me to be productive and not feel as low. Yeah, there's lots of benefits to it, but I find it really useful. I also like to take that as a moment to just close down my eyes and be grateful. There is a lot of evidence to show that gratitude can really improve your mood. Anything that I think that improves your mood also helps you to be productive, because if you have a better mood, it's a lot easier to be productive. So I usually take this moment to be grateful firstly for the cacao that I have, and then I usually pick like 2 or 3 other things to be grateful for. And I don't write them down. I think it's a nice practice to write them down. I just amn't in the habit of doing that. I mean, you don't have to drink cacao in the morning, but I think there are other things that you could have that maybe help with boosting mood, boosting creativity, boosting focus. I've heard that peppermint tea is really good for boosting focus, so that could be a really good one to do in the morning. I think I'm going to get this question about breakfast. I don't always eat breakfast in the morning. Depending on my hormonal cycle, I may or may not want breakfast first thing in the morning. Like some days I'll wake up and I'm starving and I will eat breakfast with these other things. At the moment, I'm in the habit of prepping kind of like an overnight oats situation. So if I want it first thing in the morning, I'll eat it first thing in the morning. If I want it at 10 a.m., I'll eat it at 10 a.m. I might have like a banana. In the winter, I like to have this kind of like oat pudding, like that's baked, which is quite nice, like baked oats. Sometimes I want eggs in the morning. Yeah. But I don't have a fixed breakfast, so I'm not including it in this video, apart from what I just said. The next thing that I will do is I will grab my journal and do my morning pages. So this is the activity that takes, for me, typically between 20 to 30 minutes, I would say. You could do this in 5 minutes if you only have 5 minutes. Set a timer for 5 minutes and then just journal for that time period. I do the morning pages as part of the Artist's Way, and I've been doing that for about 1.5 years, where you write 3 A4 or American letter size paper pages of just stream of consciousness, whatever's in your brain, get them out. I've experimented with different ways of doing this, and I find that just doing it the way that is suggested, like pretty much first thing in the morning, other than like making my cacao and that, it is pretty much first thing in the morning. And also doing 3 pages. I recently switched to unlined paper and I was writing a lot smaller, so I felt like in terms of a word count, 2 pages was similar to my original 3. But actually there's something in the process of flipping the page 3 times and starting 3 new pages that, since I've gone back to just doing 3 pages and slightly bigger writing in the same kind of notebook, I do find there's a lot more coming through. How this helps me to be productive is, firstly, it gives me a lot of clarity. I have a very active mind, so anything that will slow down my mind is a big thumbs up. It helps me to gain clarity if I'm feeling anxious about something, if I'm feeling frustrated about something, if I have a lot on my mind in terms of to-do list. It's a good way to get all of that out there. It's a good way to get out ideas for videos or initial ideas for like business. Creative writing kind of things come through, and those are the kind of main themes that I will have in my morning pages. Creative writing, like general reflection and frustration and all of that, things I need to do, and sometimes those are like fun things I need to do eventually, but not necessarily to-do listy things, and then also business or content ideas. I find this to be a great practice because it helps me generate ideas, it helps me think through ideas, it helps me understand what's going on in my mind, and it helps me to gain more clarity and go into my day with just more of a clear mind on what needs to be done. Something that I've recently added in that takes 5 minutes or less is kind of like a morning devotional that I've seen other channels do in kind of a religious way, but I do this in my Artist's Way, which would be like my spiritual practice that I'm going with at the moment. So there's a couple of different sections of the Artist's Way that at different weeks they're like, read this every day for the week. And on those weeks I forgot about that and I didn't do that. But what I did last week is I just put in some like little sticky notes for the pages of my Artist's Way notebook that have those things that should be read frequently. One being any affirmations that you've written for yourself, the kind of rules of the road. And they have kind of 2 basic principles, rules of the road, and then you write yourself like, basically, yeah, it's written like an artist's prayer of like how you want to go into the world creatively. So that's kind of like my morning devotional. I'll read through those, sometimes out loud, sometimes in my head. Again, just lets me focus on the things that I'm trying to work on, and there's a lot of evidence again behind affirmations and why they work. So I've just been going with the woo-woo of it and hoping for the best. After that, I will plan my day. It just helps me to know what's going on in the day. Even if I don't follow that plan exactly, it really helps me. Sometimes if I don't plan my day, I will just like lose hours and feel really stressed. There's, I think, an element of decision fatigue or almost information overload or like decision overload, task paralysis, like all of these things can affect me if I haven't got a structure for the day. I'm currently using a planner from a company called Creator's Friend, which is an Australian company, but actually if you're not in Australia, like I live in Ireland, and the notebooks came through very quickly, and I'm using a couple of their planners, but the daily planner will be the one that I use, the Fast Brain Friend, for planning my day. What I like about it is there's 7 different like daily planning spreads, so you can pick the spread that feels aligned with the kind of day that you have, whether you have more of like a to-do list day or more of like a chilling at, at home, but you have some kind of housework bits that you need to do. If I have a lot of meetings, then I have more of like a schedule kind of day. I think it helps me anyways to have this more flexibility, especially if I add colour to the spread. I'm so much more likely to go back and look at it and then to actually engage with it and then to follow my plan. But really it just helps me to know like what I need to do, what are my priorities for the day, and when do I need to do things. So today my big priority is this video. There's a couple of other things I'd like to do, but this is the main priority, and I've put in time into my day in different spots for when I need to work on it. And now that I know that, I'm feeling very calm and I'm also feeling productive, because usually I would really struggle to get in front of the camera. I would just delay it. Whereas planning my day, even though it's a Sunday, I wouldn't often plan weekendy days, but having done that now means I'm actually getting up and doing this video, hence productivity. The next thing I will do is my yogic practices. I used to view yoga as more of a workout, whereas since I've done my yoga teacher training, I definitely view it more as a spiritual practice. And I view it in terms of productivity as, this is how I'm looking after my body and my mind. And all of that is really important for what's in here, my soul, This is the one place that I have, my one home for my whole life. So it's important that I look after it so that I can continue to be productive. If I'm in pain from sitting down at a desk all day, doing the kind of work I need to do, that's not going to help me to be productive. If my posture is not great, that's going to actually affect different aspects of my health, and that's going to stop me from being productive. Originally, the poses of yoga were put together so that you can sit comfortably in a state of meditation for many hours. I like to think that in doing these practices, I'm preparing myself to do my work that I need to do throughout the week. If I only have a few minutes in the morning, so it depends on the morning, I might just have an hour for my morning routine. I won't do like a full yoga flow, but I'll try and do at least 5 minutes on my mat. And that could be a couple minutes of breath work, of pranayama. It doesn't necessarily have to be the asana practice of the poses. So I will do some of that every day. On an ideal day, I'll have more time. I'll have like an hour to an hour and a half that I can dedicate to my yoga. But sometimes I'll do that in the evening. But first thing, I want to do at least 5 minutes. If I have, again, more time, I'll do some breath work, some meditation, and also a full flow, focusing on whatever I feel in my body needs work. So in my most recent full practice, I was working on mainly stretching hip flexors because I've been doing work on strengthening them, but they were feeling pretty tired. So I did some work on stretching that area and kind of developing a new flow around that. If I just had 5 minutes each for pranayama or like meditation, I do either 5 minutes of breath work or meditation, something that's like, the breath work for me is again, very clarity driven, and the more clear I am in my brain, the more likely it is that I'm going to get good work done later. So I'll do some of that. Breath work and meditation are both very, very helpful for me for that. If I only have 5 minutes to do my asana, then I'll usually do something like spine mobility or hip mobility, because those are the two aspects that for me I need the most work on. There is an argument of whether I should do my yoga before planning my day. I don't know. I mean, yes, I should, but it's also a sense of sometimes I need to know how much time I have. I think I generally know that going in, and to be honest, I do tend to do my yoga practices before planning my day. It just depends. So, you know, I'm not that rigid with which order some of these things come in. The next thing I will do though is I will get some sunlight into me. I used to think I had to do that like first thing in the morning to like really wake up, because that's something I've seen in other morning routines. I actually don't value being super awake in this first hour of my day. I think there is something nice about those sleepy hours, and the way I journal in the morning can be very like almost cryptic, or you know, there's an element of like it's a mystery. I don't know what's going to come up. I think there's something nice about being in low light or candlelight in the morning in the quiet times, especially in the winter, and just doing those practices in the dead of night. And then afterwards, when I'm like ready to go into my day, so this is kind of moving into that portion of the morning, let's hit me with some light at that point. If it is dark or it's the winter, I have this like sunlight light that was not too expensive as far as I recall, and that, you know, really blasts you with some light. Ideally, I'll actually get outside, and that's a nice moment for me to kind of set some sort of intention for the day of like my main priority or the thing that would make today great. I used to use the 5-minute journal that has these things in it, but I just, again, didn't fully get into the habit of it because there was no real process for it. So adding in the gratitude with my cacao, the what would make today great or priority with my little bit of sunlight in the morning, is just a way that it tends to work better for me. If I can, I like to actually plan my day in conjunction with the light, because I feel like there's just a nice combination there. I was over at my mom's house recently one morning and I hadn't yet planned my day, but I did get outside, you know, cycled over. Then I sat down outside in her garden. She has this really nice kind of like Spanish patio set, and I planned my day there, and it was like very nice. So I would definitely recommend. Why the light is important for being productive is it helps you balance your circadian rhythm so that you don't have like an energy crash later in the day. That's especially going to be the case in the winter when we have lower light. We're going to want to sleep more, and that's cool. I feel sleep more if you need to or if you want to, but you know, you don't want in the middle of your day having an energy crash, so the light can really help with that. The next thing I will do that I think really helps me to be productive throughout the day is I will set myself an achievable short housework task. I think there is some evidence about this. People always say like make your bed in the morning, and that's definitely an option. It's just to have something that you've ticked off already, something like a small win in the day that then when you need to go on and do your kind of bigger, more difficult tasks, you're already feeling that sense of like, hey, I can do it. So that could be, you know, doing my dishes from yesterday or things that have built up in terms of dishes. It could be taking the bins out. It could be making my bed. It could be cleaning up the pile of clothes that I've left on the floor from yesterday when I was trying to decide what to wear. Any of those things are possible. And it's usually something that's somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. That's all I really have time and patience for in the morning, and I would usually do other housework tasks later in the day or in the evening. The final, I think, thing that I do in the morning is I will get ready for the day. I definitely feel when I'm ready for the day, when I've done my couple of, you know, self-care things, I feel great. Now, obviously, certain days I will need to take a shower. I'll try and do that in the evenings because I don't usually have time or the desire to get in the shower in the morning. Typically, just brush my teeth, wash my face with plain water because I'm quite lucky to have like relatively clear skin, so I don't like to mess around with it. I'll put on my SPF, sometimes moisturizer as well. I'll fill in my eyebrows, which I literally just use a eyeshadow palette for, and a little bit of lip balm, a little bit of jewellery, get my outfit on for the day and sort my hair out. Today hasn't been a great day for it and I'm feeling sad about that, but you know, we live, we press on. And again, yeah, getting ready for the day I definitely find makes a huge difference to my productivity throughout the day. So those are 8 or maybe more things that I do in the morning that take mostly 5 minutes to do, that help me to be productive throughout the day, especially making use of the idea that this is a time to restore before bursting forward into the day and taking on the day by the horns, they say, or something. So yes, let me know if you have any productive practices that you do in the morning that help you to be productive for the rest of the day. I would love to hear those because I'm always looking for inspiration, how I can better my rituals and routines. So leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.